PPAC is Petroleum Planning Analysis Cell, which deals in data of oil and gas of country. And as we say, the data is new oil, and we deal in data of oil. So you can imagine kind of a treasure we hold. Energies are, as I said, coal, oil, gas, or renewables. So what we see is that although we are transitioning to renewables, in volume terms, oil and gas are not going away.
Kab tak, sir?
Not kab tak. I do not see them going away even in next 25-30 years. In month of May, when wheat crops are there to be harvested, the rains are coming, hailstorms are coming. They are not worried that it will hamper their plate, food plate. Their chola bhaturas and tandoori rotis will go away someday.
हेलो एवरीबॉडी, वेलकम बैक टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द क्लाइमेप्रेन्योर शो। आज के एपिसोड पे हमारे साथ हैं डॉक्टर पंकज शर्मा, जो डायरेक्टर हैं पेट्रोलियम प्लानिंग एंड एनालिसिस सेल, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पेट्रोलियम एंड नेचुरल गैस, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया। आर यू सरप्राइज्ड कि PPAC जैसी कोई यूनिट एग्जिस्ट भी करती है? टू बी ऑनेस्ट, आई वाज व्हेन वी फर्स्ट कनेक्टेड, व्हेन आई फर्स्ट सॉ हिज प्रोफाइल, आई वाज लाइक कि ऐसा भी कुछ एग्जिस्ट करता है, एंड आई वाज वेरी इंट्रीग्ड टू सी द वर्क दे आर डूइंग। एंड ऑनेस्टली आई थिंक दैट आज की कॉन्वर्सेशन आप लोगों के लिए बहुत इंट्रीगिंग होने वाली है। वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट India's energy transition. What does PPAC do? What does the data suggest? Welcome, sir. Thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you for coming here all the way to share the extensive knowledge that you have got.
Thank you, Shweta. I'm glad that I'm here. I will start with that why I am here. So I am here to tell you, I will tell you in two parts. First is official part that I am from PPAC, as you said. And PPAC is Petroleum Planning Analysis Cell, which deals in data of oil and gas of country. And this data is enormous from all stakeholders. And as we say, the data is new oil, and we deal in data of oil. So you can imagine kind of a treasure we hold. And why I call it treasure is that it helps consumers, producers, suppliers, and policymakers to make policies and take decisions about energy they use. That is first part, that why I am here. Second part is little personal kind. In first fortnight of April, Delhi was so hot, and everyone talked about that the temperature is +3 or 4 of average. Everyone was worried what will happen, and suddenly rains started. And that kind of change in climate and weather happened. And last week it was so horrible that rains were there. It was so cold. Hailstorms were there. And people, what Delhi wala said, कि Delhi Simla ho gayi. So I was little worried that people are rejoicing on something which is which they should be worried of. That in month of May, when wheat crops are there to be harvested, the rains are coming, hailstorms are coming. They are not worried that it will hamper their plate, food plate. Their chola bhaturas and tandoori rotis will go away someday. So they are not actually realizing. So it is time that every one of us, whether in fact urban people do not realize that how the climate change is affecting so many things. Quite often we talk only about temperature. The temperature is going up. गर्मी बहुत हो जाएगी तो क्या होगा? In fact, quite often we can have solutions for them, although it is cyclical and even they will impact climate. We can have ACs in winters, we can have heaters, we can have so many other things to deal with that. But there are so many other things which are getting impacted. Food is getting impacted, crops are getting impacted, water is getting impacted, air is getting impacted, and all that is impacting even urban people. In fact, it is impacting more them because other than so many other sources of pollution or carbon emission, transport part, city transport is maximum in big cities. So that was my another purpose, that people should realize that climate is changing and it is impacting them and they are responsible for it. That was another aim of that. So coming back to first part, that what kind of energy scenario is there in country? you know that most of the oil, as we know that currently India uses 90% of fossil fuel. Fossil fuels means coal, oil and gas. And only 10% is renewables and other sources. And how it is shifting is that in percentage terms, it is around gas is only 6-7%, oil is around 30%, coal is around 50%, and balance is others. And we are transitioning to gas. Gas is called transition fuel. So we are trying to increase share of gas, and we are trying to reduce oil and coal. But what we see is that if we compare the consumption of our country compared to world average or developed countries, it is very low. India consumes only around 6 tons of oil equivalent of energy compared to around 6.8 of America, which is only 1/10. And if we compare it to even world average, which is around 1.8, it is 1/3.
1/3.
So what that actually means? That actually means that we have to consume more energy if we want to grow. It is not like that we are not consuming because we are miser. It is because we do not have that kind of industries or consumption patterns which need energy to grow. So if India has to grow, our target is that we will become 6 trillion economy or even more. Our biggest entrepreneurs think in terms of 35-40 trillion. So if we have to reach there, we have to use energy. And now if we have to use energy, energies are, as I said, coal, oil, gas or renewables. So what we see is that although we are transitioning to renewables, but in volume terms, oil and gas are not going away.
Kab tak, sir?
So what, not kab tak. I do not see them going away even in next 25-30 years.
Really?
Yeah.
But the percentages will change.
Percentage will come down.
Yes.
But volume terms, they will increase only. Oil use will be almost double kind in next 25-30 years. Gas will be 5 times. Coal will come down. But their percentages, which I said is around oil and gas together is 35%. It will come down. Coal will come down to 35%. And basically, renewables will replace mostly coal. So in volume terms, even coal will maybe little what is at current levels or more from current levels. But percentage basket may come down. So overall, it is going to increase only. So that kind of scenario is there.
So sir, जब ये increase होगा, तो how are we looking towards say the net zero transitions and what is going to happen?
I will come to that. Now I will give you some idea that how energy transitions take place. Energy transition do not take place only for net zero to begin with. We should know that energy transition take place for various reasons, and basically I will talk about 3 reasons. First is availability, and then affordability, and then sustainability. So even when we were not talking of sustainability, energy transitions were taking place because of availability and affordability. Just to give you a very small example, that you know that EVs were the first cars on the roads in the world, not IC engines. EVs were there, but as soon as oil came, which was cheaper, which was much easier to get it, because electricity can be transported only through wires, cables, but oil can be transported in containers. So oil was available easily and in abundance. People easily shifted to oil and forgot about EVs for 200 years. Now,
200 years?
Yeah. They have reappeared now after 200 or 150 years. So it is basically that whether it is available or secondly, it is affordable or not. Similarly, LPG, it is an example of our own country. Till 6, 7, 8 years back, LPG was not easily available. Getting a connection was a big task. So people were not using. As soon as it became easily available through various schemes of government, including Ujjwala for poor people have started using it. Currently use, if we compare in 10 year terms, it has almost doubled. So that it is, whether it is available or then, and then if it is not affordable, people will still go back to the older. For that, even rich countries, I will give you example that since this Ukraine war issue, even European countries which are rich countries, they have reverted back to coal because they find that Russia will not give in. The prices were so high for gas. The gas was not affordable. So they again came back to coal for their power stations. So affordability is also important at the same time. Now, it is for the first time in 1.5 century, I will say, that we have started talking about sustainability. In all this time of industrialization, we were talking about only availability and or affordability. Industries were shifting according to whether the energy is available or affordable. Now, sustainability is there, so we are talking about sustainability. And sustainability means that we should use energies which are not carbon emitting. Coming back to your question, that if in volume terms we will not go down, how we will achieve net zero? Net zero can be still achieved because oil and gas as such are not bad. Even they can be cleaned. I will give you an example. You know, BS6, BS5, you know these terms? So we are cleaning them so they can become less emitting. So that is one way of reducing with these fuels only. Then efficiencies of vehicles, efficiencies of plants. So with the same kind, I will give you a simple example, although it is not directly correlated. America consumes around only thrice of volume in terms of volume energy. Per capita it is high, but they consume around 2.4. We consume 6 or 8. But their GDP is 8 times of us. So they are using energy much more efficiently. So that is another way of reducing carbon emission, that we produce much more than with lesser energy. So that is another way. And then, as we said, that gas share will go up from oil. Gas is little less emitting, although it is only called bridging fuel because after all, that is also fossil fuel. So that is how we are moving towards that. And then there are so many other ways to compensate. Net zero doesn't mean that only emission has to be stopped. Net meaning is that only. Na? There will be plus and there will be minus. We have to create minuses also, yes, so that net becomes zero.
तो मुझे जैसे आपने बोला कि मतलब ये जो चीज़ है कि ऑयल एंड गैस मतलब बढ़ता ही जाएगा, आपने कुछ एग्जांपल्स दिए कि हम इसको और क्लीन कर सकते हैं, बट व्हाट डज लाइक रेन्यूएबल लुक्स टू यू, कि रेन्यूएबल का कितना परसेंटेज होगा इंडिया के एनर्जी बास्केट में?
Renewables will become around 1/3. Each of these, coal, oil and renewable, they will be around 1/3 each by 2047. Because we are talking in terms of Amrit Kal, we will be completing 100 years in 2047. So almost 1/3 each of these energies will be there. And since you are talking of renewables, very interesting thing is that fire is one invention or discovery which is talked about, which is behind all civilization. If we did not discover fire, we could have been living in jungles eating raw food. Today we are talking anti-fire. All energies, renewable energies which are not emitting fire. So that kind of transition is taking place. Why I am telling you this is because we are very in a hurry. We think that transition should take place in next 10, 20, 50 years. For humanity, this time is very small. It is not even blink of eye if we talk in terms of humanity. So we should not be in hurry that it should happen tomorrow only. It will take time. It may take even otherwise, that entire world has taken target of 2100. By the end of this century, we should be able to control temperatures rise by only 1.5. But very interesting aspect in that is that also is that currently it is only 1.2. But even in that we are talking of increasing only. Because we understand, the entire world understand that it is not easy to bring that to pre-industrial levels. So, but 1.5 scientists think that Earth can tolerate that. So that is the target. So that is around 80 years away from here. So we should not be in a hurry that transition net zero should come. That is why very intelligently or I will say that our leadership is quite intelligent enough to decide 2070. We are not saying that we will do it tomorrow. That's not actually possible. And since we are talking of net zero, the targets came in COP, and we are doing that for 27 years, and it is increasing only. So those kind of targets are not quite often realistic. That if we say that we will do it in next 10 years or 20 years, whatever has increased, whatever has settled in climate for last 150 years of realization, you can't negate it or make it net zero in 10 years or 20 years. That will also take time.
But so what is the way forward? Matlab, like me, many people would have this question ki theek hai, we can say ki ye possible nahi hai 10 saal mein, we should give it like some amount of patience to it. But the thing is that climate though is changing now, whatever we are seeing, like the rains you talked about. And for example, recently only, I think Goa mein, there was a specific incident which no mainstream media is covering, the forest fires, and a lot of other things are happening. So what is the solution to it? Like, because urgency to hai. And अगर हम अब ये नहीं सोच सकते कि 20 साल 30 साल 50 साल तक वेट करते हैं, बिकॉज वेट करा तो इट्स ओनली गोइंग टू इंक्रीज, एंड एज यू ऑल्सो सेड कि ऑयल और ये सेक्टर्स इंक्रीज ही करेंगे. तो हाउ डू वी रिड्यूस द ओवरऑल इम्पैक्ट? बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली हमारा गोल है कि इसका ओवरऑल इम्पैक्ट रिड्यूस करें without compromising on people's quality of life.
Yeah. Point is that it is not about, there are two parts to becoming net zero or reducing the climate emissions, carbon emissions. One is reducing whatever already done. Another part is do not add to it. So what you are asking is that we should start by second part, that we should not add to it, or we should add minimum to it. And there are so many ways to do it. It is not only, quite often, in fact, I say that energy, particularly oil, fossil fuels, have become new tobacco. Everyone talks negatively about them, that they are like tobacco and they should not be consumed. They are not tobacco. They have whatever growth we see, oil and gas have brought. So what we should do is, we should focus on how to reduce demand. That is big initiative which people can take, is that how to reduce demand for energy. That can help entire humanity in a big way. So we consume so much energy, and we should see that wherever energy demand can be reduced. If that we do, scientists say that, modelers say that even that can reduce 10-15% of energy demand. So if we can reduce 10-15%, that actually means that we will consume oil and gas less. So that is in every aspect of life. For example, public transport. Although as individuals, quite often we say that public transport is not in our control. If public transport is not good, that is why we are forced to take private vehicles. But finally, the initiatives like public transport, they will help. And if that can happen, that if we start using public transport, cars will be there less on road, and emissions will be less. That is one example. And that can happen in every activity of ours, in individual activities, whether it is home lighting. I often say or see that even here, although it is because of cameras and all, even in day, you do not find any building, even our homes, where we are not using light. And it is new thing. You are young, you will not know that in our childhood, maybe because it was not available, but we never used lights in the day time. And in fact, I remember as a child, we have read in moonlight, when full moonlights were there, we were sleeping in open and we were reading in moonlight also. But today, even in day, inside home, we are using lights. So that kind of initiatives at individual level have to be taken so that demand itself comes down. If demand is not there, naturally you will not use energy.
So do you also feel that, so for example, you talked about public transport. I think if I have to count number of times I have used a cab or a car in my life, that would be very few times. I've always traveled from metro. I've traveled all my life in public transport. Even today, like I traveled 2 hours to this place via metro. and this is a place like where I always travel from. So I understand that it's important, but also from the consumer standpoint, we need to invest maybe more in this kind of infrastructure, like strengthening our public transport, which I believe in Delhi is really good. And I was speaking with someone who said that they're also working on, the footpaths, the bicycling pathways. So as infrastructure, we are supporting that. Similarly, when it comes to the demand supply side, obviously I am a huge believer that individually we need to, control our demands and everything. But maybe on the infrastructure side, like for example, if today I talk about, say, hydrogen, today I talk about ethanol, are our industries ready with the infrastructure support? Because when we talk about natural gas, I don't know if natural gas is actually a good alternative or not, because it also has its pros and cons. So do we need infrastructure support immensely to scale these green energy solutions? And added to that part, please explain the natural gas transition for India. Is it a boom, or is it something which might not prove out to be a very good option in the coming future? Like, what does the data suggest?
Yeah. Firstly, public transport infrastructure has to be created, and fortunately, government is doing that, and metros are coming in many cities. The problem is that for a country like us, that population is so large that even in spite of that, we find that private transport is continued to be used. So maybe the infrastructure which is currently there, much more is required. Second part is that even otherwise a smart city concept is there, and currently, the biggest talking point in space of climate change is LIFE, which is initiative of our Prime Minister, which talks about lifestyle for environment. So there we talk, he is talking about all these initiatives, only what you are talking, walking and cycling and creating city infrastructure where minimum energy use is there for working and walking and traveling. Coming to gas, as you said, gas, there are two blocks. First, which they say that it is a bridging fuel. And another block is there which say it is a wall. The wall block says that since now you are investing in gas community or gas businesses will like to resist the change because they have invested in it. So both schools are there. But I believe that it is a transition fuel because, again, coming back to my earlier point, we should not see transition from the point of view of 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Transition is much longer term for humanity. It has to be 100 years. So if we are starting using gas, which is less emitting, we are certainly helping environment. And we should not say that bridge fuel means only 10 years. Bridge fuel maybe for 30, 40 years. What is happening on gas front, since you talked about that, how it is faring in country? It is faring very well. Gas distribution in country is through CGDs, City Gas Distribution Companies. Almost entire country is now covered by CGD allocation part. The entire country has been, CGDs are allotted according to geographical areas, GAs we call them. So all entire country is almost covered, in some company has been allocated that geographical area. That is one part. So which shows intent of the government that gas has to reach every nook and corner of the country. But gas, as I said about electricity and oil when I compared, gas is a fuel which can't be transported in tankers like oil. Gas is a fuel which can be transported in pipelines. So it needs huge infrastructure. That is why you do not see growth the way other energy sources see. That until unless pipelines are there to each part of country, gas will not reach there. I will give you an example that how it can transform quickly. Quite often when we talk this, people are saying that actually means that it will take long time and it may not happen. In fact, various modeling agencies or international agencies put gas usage, what government is targeting, that it will be 15% by 2030. People say that it will not reach 6, 7, 8% more than that in this period because of this part only. But if we can focus on infrastructure, usage is not difficult. People will shift very easily. Example is Gujarat. Gujarat, because Gujarat is a coastal state and gas terminals started in Gujarat, Dahej and Mundra, and so those the coast terminals came. So Gujarat, in energy basket of country, on all India level, it is only 6%. Gas is 6%. In Gujarat, it is 25%. So since it is available, it has reached every corner of Gujarat through pipelines. People are using it. If same thing happens to other parts of country, it will quickly change to gas. Wherever it has come, I will give you example from our industry that you know that CNG cars are there. Similarly, LPG cars are also there.
Okay.
But you may not have seen them because in northern part of country, CNG has come, so that LPG has disappeared. Because people have quickly shifted to CNG. LPG was little difficult to take to stations because again that it logistic issues and all. So people the LPG business from North India is almost zero. Gujarat it is zero. In South it is still there. Entire auto LPG, we call it auto LPG, is in almost in South because CNG has not reached there. So as soon as CNG reaches there, they will start using. So I am of the belief that as soon as that infrastructure is ready, people will quickly shift to gas. So I am quite hopeful about gas, and gas will reach 15% in next 7-10 years as soon as that infrastructure is ready everywhere. And that will happen because, as I said, every part of country is allocated to some company and they are working on it. It is their business.
And what I also believe, like one thing which I don't agree with is that the transition period cannot be 50 years or 100 years because I believe that we do not have that much time because the way things are changing is immensely. But what I also believe is कि transition energy में बहुत जल्दी आएगा. Because I also feel जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं LPG to CNG. Maybe LPG to CBG हो because right now we are also talking about CNG to CBG. So sir, एक बात बताओ, like what does the data say about this? That do you think that different parts of India might have different energy decarbonization pathways? Like for example, a particular area might have very good feedstock for CBG. That particular area could be CBG prominent. An area which might have immense amount of wind energy. And we find systems to store that energy and charge that particular city. So that could be wind energy in that area. Do you feel कि ऐसे हम जल्दी transition कर पाएंगे, like area specific decarbonization pathways for energy?
Agreed. And actually that is happening. Every state in country is making their plans independently according to those resources only. Coming back to your point, CBG and that kind of fuels, CBG can be produced anywhere because there are so many feedstocks for that.
But the feedstock is a challenge.
It is a challenge.
Feedstock availability is a challenge.
Availability is a challenge, but I do not believe that kind of big challenge.
So it
because,
is.
Listen to me, because feedstock is not one. There are so many. Urban waste is very easily available in
every... But segregated available nahi hai.
Yeah, but that has to be done by the producers.
But that is so what I'm asking you, ki how do we get the entire infrastructure ready? For example, like I spoke with this one person who has made this CBG like technology. And उनका perspective यही था कि technology हमारे side से ready to implement है. But जो problem आ रही है वो ये आ रही है कि एक बार आपने digester start करा, उस digester में आपको feedstock continuously डालना ही पड़ेगा. So मतलब my point here is that how do you believe कि जो technology के आसपास की problems हैं, let's solve that problem. For example, जो पराली वाला issue है, ठीक है, तो वहां पर अगेन लॉजिस्टिक्स एंड सप्लाई चेन एक प्रॉब्लम है. वी हैव द टेक्नोलॉजी, वी हैव कंपनीज वर्किंग ऑन इट, बट टू डू इट एट स्केल वी नीड आसपास का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सॉल्व हो. सो दैट इज व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग टू यू.
Even that is not an issue. It is about synergy between various agencies which are in this value chain.
Yes.
From waste to gas.
Correct.
And we have models, successful models in country. If I'm sure you know that Indore there is a plant which is using municipal waste to make gas, and it is successfully running. So if you should in fact talk to someone from municipal corporation of Indore someday, it will be very interesting for you. That in fact I was there only a couple of months back for a meeting, so I especially visited their plant where gas is being produced, and I visited with them to see entire chain, how they collect waste and how it reaches to that plant and they convert into gas. And how very good model is there, because it is not only producing gas, it is producing fertilizer, it is producing even water, because the waste is containing water also, so they collect that water also. So Indore, I will say, has given us a very good successful model where municipal corporation is working towards collecting that waste very successfully from each household, and then it is being bought by that plant or taken by that plant and converted into gas. And that is not very difficult model, and every municipal corporation, big municipal corporation, can do that. So that is one part. But there are so many other, as you said, there are many other feedstocks, and there, because collection area, what happens in case of municipal waste, the collection area is very limited, and it is very easy to collect, not very easy, but easier, I will say, easier to collect and take it to plant. Other feedstocks, I agree that it is difficult, and like parali and all those feedstocks are little difficult, but that requires little bigger effort on part of producers and entire chain, because to collect parali and take it to a gas plant and convert it to gas is a costly affair. The cost increases. That is one part why it is not seeing that kind of success which that municipal waste has seen. But public sector companies are putting up plants in various parts of country, particularly north, and we will see, when we see a success story, I am sure that others will come forward, and even that model will be successful.
And I also believe, like as you mentioned, Indore Wali story, this again brings me to the fact that energy transition has to happen with the social transformation as well. And I always believe that for climate solutions to penetrate, it has to also improve people quality of life. For example, I think it was your words only somewhere that energy transition also has to create like newer green jobs. Which I read a study which said that jab solar, renewable, like wind and all these places will come in, even biomass, वो जो employment rate दे रहे हैं, it's big, like it's 1.5, 2%, 3% higher than the traditional ones.
Yeah.
So what does the data suggest, or what do you think, can energy transition also empower people in terms of better jobs, in terms of better livelihood?
I will again tell you a story to explain my point, which I have used in somewhere else also when I was talking to some students. A couple of years back, I went to Leh with my family for holiday.
I know that story.
Yeah. So there one popular activity is river rafting in Zanskar. So we also went for that. And when we boarded the raft, one guide appeared and he talked about safety and all features of rafting. But before that, he asked one simple question, that how many of you know swimming? And many of us raised hands very enthusiastically, we know swimming. To that he said, ki niche kar lo. In rapids of Zanskar, your swimming will not help. So same is true about energy transition. Energy transition needs new kind of skills, new kind of jobs. And as I gave you example of computerization, when computerization came, entire workforce felt that it will take away your jobs. In fact, I'm not sure whether you know or not, there were computer allowances to employees because they feared, unionized employees felt that computer will take away their jobs. So they demanded that they should be given a computer allowance. So they were giving computer allowances because it will hurt their jobs and remuneration. The same thing is happening with energy transition. Energy transition is going to create so many new jobs. As we were talking before this session started, that when EVs will come, you will need thousands of workshops and mechanics who deal in electric motors. Currently, mechanic means for us who deals in engine. When EVs come, engine will not be there. So you will need electric motor repairing people, that kind of fitters, or so that kind of jobs will be there. And it is, but what I find is that on that part, much is not happening. While EVs are coming, public sector companies and even so many startups are there who are creating charging stations. That part is, mechanic part is still lagging behind. Maybe need has not arisen because cars are new and we have not reached that level. So suddenly you will find that a requirement or need coming. So we should, as community, we should get ready for that. We should create skill sets who can deal with that. And it is not only that part. Again, I will tell you, since we are talking on that, what happens like when we talk of energy, oil and gas get targeted because that is visible phase. In case of coal, it goes to power plant. It doesn't come to us. It goes to power plant, and from power plant, electricity comes to us. In case of oil and gas, you every day go to petrol pump and see it. So quite often we talk of oil and gas as energy and energy which is emitting carbon. Same thing is about sectors. There are so many sectors who use energy. But quite often we give examples of transport because that is most visible part of. So that is why I gave you example that EVs come, then we need skills. But that kind of skills will be needed in entire chain, in entire users of that kind of energies, entire producers of that kind of energy. When solar panels come in large numbers, we will need people who can deal in them. Wind energy comes, then we will need people who can deal in windmills. So that kind of jobs will get created, and we should be ready with that kind of skill sets in society.
Definitely. And I do believe in it. Like, the reason I'm saying is that the transition is going to happen really sooner this time is because it's not just few people working in the sector. Like, I've spoken to so many people and everyone is working into the sector in their own diverse ways. Like, for example, one person sitting in Punjab is working. Similarly, a person from Gujarat is working in the energy space. So, like, there are people from all across India who are working in this energy space. And I believe कि जब बहुत सारे लोग मिलके एक चीज को सॉल्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं ना, वो चीज सॉल्व हो जाएगी और ट्रांजिशन जल्दी आएगा, डेफिनेटली आएगा.
बिल्कुल.
एंड सर, मेरा एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन आपसे ये है कि पीपीएसी में आपकी
नहीं, पहले मैं आपको बताऊं जो आप कह रहे हो ना, ट्रांजिशन जल्दी आएगा. आई ऑल्सो बिलीव, मैं एक एग्जांपल देता हूं उसके लिए भी, कि कार की जो ड्राइवर के साइड का मिरर होता है ना, उसमें लिखा रहता है कि द ऑब्जेक्ट्स which are looking here
much closer than
they are much closer than
what
they look like.
Correct.
The same is about transition. Transition is much nearer than what we talk about, what it looks like. इतने दिन में उससे नजदीक है. But नजदीक doesn't mean I may sound like I am delaying it, but we should talk in terms of, again I am saying, we should not be selfish about our lifetimes. कि हमारी lifetime कोई जरूरी नहीं है ना. We should think in terms कि होना चाहिए transition. And transition is not on-off kind. Even if it is faster, it will take time. If it is slow, it will take much more time. So, I am of the opinion that even if it is faster, it will take at least 30, 40, 50 years. It is not going to come in 10
नहीं
years.
लगेंगे सर.
So, that is good. That is good if it happens.
I believe कि नहीं लगेगा इतना टाइम. मतलब this is the one thing which I want कि I am proven right. मतलब मुझे पता है आपके पास डेटा नंबर्स हैं and I truly respect that. But पता नहीं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि नहीं लगेगा इतना टाइम, जल्दी हो जाएगा.
मैं कह रहा हूँ ना कि आप जो कह रहे हो ना, ट्रांजिशन है क्या, हमें पहले ये समझना चाहिए. अगेन होता क्या है श्वेता, कि हम जब, जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया ना, कि हम जब एनर्जी की बात करते हैं तो हमको पेट्रोल पंप दिखाई दे जाता है. हम एनर्जी यूज की बात करते हैं तो हमको कार और मोटरसाइकिल दिखाई दे जाती है, क्योंकि वो विजिबल है. तो ऐसी जब हम ट्रांजिशन की बात करते हैं तो हमें हम वो वाली चीजें देखते हैं कि जहां हमें लगता है कि यहाँ तो चेंज हो जाएगी. यहाँ पे घरों में आज बायोमास यूज हो रहा है, उसकी जगह एलपीजी आ जाएगी. तो जो चीजें विजिबल होती हैं उनकी हम बात करते हैं. लेकिन एक्चुअली कहाँ यूज हो रही हैं, एनर्जी कहाँ यूज हो रही है, कहाँ प्रोड्यूस हो रही है, जब पूरा आप पिक्चर अपने सामने रखोगे ना, तब रियलाइज होगा कि सूनर डजंट मीन 5 years.
तो व्हाट आर द एरियाज, जैसे हम इस बारे में बात कर रहे हैं अभी, जैसे आपने बोला, ठीक है, ट्रांसपोर्ट के बारे में हमने बात करी. आप एक बार ये बताओ कि what other areas do you feel कि जहाँ एनर्जी यूज हो रही है बट इट्स नॉट मच हाईलाइटेड.
नहीं, हाईलाइट तो है, जनरल कन्वर्सेशन में नहीं है. तो
मतलब एरियाज, स्पेसिफिक एरियाज बताओ.
आप बताओ ना, देश की बिजली किससे बनती है आज?
अभी तो कोल से बन रही है
मोस्ट ऑफ इट. तो ट्रांजिशन हैज टू टेक प्लेस देयर आल्सो. तो आज जो बिजली बन रही है उसको पूरी को ऐसे फ्यूल पे ले जाना जो नॉन पॉल्यूटिंग है, यानी रिन्यूअल्स पे ले जाना. इट विल नॉट, इट कांट हैपन.
में ऐसी कोई कंट्री है कि जहां पर मतलब उनके जो कंट्री की जो पूरी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है वो मतलब कोल बेस्ड नहीं है या मैक्सिमम अमाउंट कोल बेस्ड नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ है मतलब वर्ल्ड में?
ये लेकिन स्मॉलर कंट्रीज,
तो वो कैसे, मतलब उनका क्या पावर, मतलब पावर स्ट्रक्चर, जस्ट आई एम ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन।
क्योंकि उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट बहुत कम है ना,
मतलब पर कैपिटा जैसे आप कह रहे थे, रिक्वायरमेंट वाली चीज कह रहे थे आप,
छोटी पर कैपिटा डजंट गिव राइट पिक्चर। एक छोटा देश है, हम पर कैपिटा हमारी क्यों लो है, इन स्पाइट ऑफ बीइंग थर्ड लार्जेस्ट कंज्यूमर ऑफ एनर्जी, वी शुड कीप दैट इन माइंड, है ना। बट पर कैपिटा लो है क्यों? क्योंकि 140 करोड़ लोग हैं, तो कोई छोटा देश है वो नॉन फॉसिल फ्यूल पे शिफ्ट हो गया है, दैट शुड नॉट बिकम कि वो कर सकता है तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते। सिचुएशंस अलग अलग है ना हमारी, तो हम वो एग्जाम्पल्स हमको डिस्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं, क्योंकि वो छोटे से देश हैं, उनके रिक्वायरमेंट, क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन, पूरे यूरोप की पॉपुलेशन उतनी नहीं है जितनी हमारी है। तो अगर वहां का कोई, यूरोप का कोई देश शिफ्ट कर लेता है, तो दैट डजंट मीन वी कैन ऑल्सो डू दैट इन द सेम टाइम स्पेन। तो आई एम ऑल्सो ऑप्टिमिस्टिक लाइक यू, बट हम जो जल्दी कहते हैं ना, वो जल्दी डजंट मीन 5 years और 10 years, मेरा कहना वो है।
डेफिनेटली सर, मतलब हो सकता है, बिकॉज आपके पास मतलब जो आप इनसाइट्स देख रहे हो, इंडस्ट्री इनसाइट्स,
मैंने कहा ना जैसे कि पावर प्लांट्स हैं, सब कोल बेस्ड हैं।
तो सर इंडिया में अभी हम कुछ काम कर रहे हैं लाइक करेंटली, जैसे पावर प्लांट्स को कोल बेस से हटाने के लिए?
अभी दो चीजें, एक तो उनको हटाना
या कम करना, लाइक बेसिकली
उनको हटाना डिफिकल्ट होता है। जो नया आ रहा है सब रिन्यूएबल, सोलर प्लांट्स आ रहे हैं और विंड मिल्स आ रही हैं। गवर्नमेंट का टारगेट है कि आज जो जितनी बन रही है, तो बाई 2030 जो 50% शुड कम फ्रॉम रिन्यूएबल सोर्सेज ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोडक्शन। एंड देन ओनली रिसेंटली आई वाज रीडिंग दैट नए कोल प्लांट्स शायद अलाउ ना किए जाए, so that kind of efforts are being made. Similarly, that was one part. You asked, there are so many sectors which we call hard to abate sectors.
Hard to, हाँ.
तो वहाँ टाइम लगेगा। तो that's why I said कि net zero doesn't mean कि आप सब ग्रीन एनर्जी में शिफ्ट हो जाओगे। नेट जीरो विल एक्चुअली मीन कि आप बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी करोगे जो इमिशन तो होगा लेकिन उससे ऑफसेट हो जाए।
एग्जैक्टली, मतलब ऐसा भी आप कह सकते हैं कि जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर इस सेक्टर से हो रहा है बट देयर इज अ टेक्नोलॉजी और किसी और सेक्टर से कम करें, तो मतलब कैलकुलेटिव वे में रिड्यूस हो रहा है। फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे आप एनर्जी की बात कर रहे थे ना अभी, अब हम कितना देखते हैं कि लोगों ने अपनी ब्लास्ट फर्नेसेस में हाइड्रोजन इंजेक्ट करना स्टार्ट कर दिया। मतलब सर जैसे मुझे जो ऑप्टिमिज्म, मुझे जो होप आता है ना, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, वो ये सब देखने से आता है कि मतलब कैसे लोग अलग अलग सेक्टर्स में जो चीजें हम सोच भी नहीं सकते हैं वो वहां पर सोल्यूशंस डेवलप कर रहे हैं। एंड आई अंडरस्टैंड कि आप मतलब जो बिगर पिक्चर जो आप समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हो ना, मुझे समझ आ रही है, बट मतलब क्योंकि शायद मे बी मतलब हम लोग थोड़ा सा इस टाइम पे सोच रहे हैं कि नहीं जल्दी, कितना जल्दी कैसे होगा।
वो जल्दी का, हमें जल्दी तय करना, जल्दी का क्या मतलब है?
करेक्ट,
वो है एज फार एज बहुत चीजें हो रही हैं। जैसे आपने हाइड्रोजन इंजेक्शन की बात की, नॉट ओनली पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर, एज इंटायर एनर्जी सेक्टर वी आर डूइंग दैट। We are injecting hydrogen in CNG. In Delhi only we did that pilot. So those things are happening. But again, how hydrogen is produced? Wait, हमें, as you rightly used word bigger picture, हमें देख आज हाइड्रोजन कैसे प्रोड्यूस होती है? वो भी तो उसी एनर्जी से प्रोड्यूस होती है जो कार्बन इमिशन मीडियम से बनी हुई है, फॉसिल फ्यूल से बनी हुई है। तो पहले तो हाइड्रोजन को ग्रीन बनना पड़ेगा, और ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन के लिए आपको ग्रीन एनर्जी चाहिए।
ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन तो काम हो रहा है, लाइक अभी हमने देखा कि नेशनल ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन मिशन जो आया उसमें हमने बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट हमने इन्वेस्ट करा है इस चीज में। तो मतलब मुझे एक चीज ऐसा लग रहा है, क्या ऐसा आपको लगता है कि जैसे जो छोटे छोटे हम ये मतलब मल्टी सेक्टर अप्रोच गवर्नमेंट भी रखते हैं, नेशनल ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन मिशन है, उसके अलावा अभी रिसेंटली ड्राफ्ट आया था कार्बन क्रेडिट ट्रेडिंग स्कीम के ऊपर, तो जो ऐसा हम इस टाइम पे कोलैबोरेटिव काम कर रहे हैं, अलग अलग सेक्टर में काम कर रहे हैं, वो हमारे लिए बहुत ही बेनिफिशियल अप्रोच होगी, बिकॉज हम एक एक करके सारे सेक्टर्स पे इंडिविजुअली काम कर रहे हैं विद इंडिविजुअल बॉडीज वर्किंग ऑन स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर। बिल्कुल,
वो मिशन, नाम ही सबके मिशन है ना, तो मिशन मोड में काम कर रहे हैं, तो हो गई। जो मैं आपको बताना चाह रहा था कि ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन पे काम हो रहा है, लेकिन ग्रीन और ये जो कलर है वो क्या है? बेसिकली
ब्लू, ग्रीन और ग्रे
कैसे बनती है। और हाइड्रोजन बेसिकली जो बनती है वो किसी एनर्जी से ही बनती है, मतलब एनर्जी के सपोर्ट से बनती है ना, इलेक्ट्रोलाइजर से यूज करके। तो आज जो एनर्जी है वो है फॉसिल फ्यूल जनरेटेड, उससे बन रही है, तो इट इज ऑफ सम डिफरेंट कलर। व्हेन इट विल बी स्टार्टेड मेकिंग थ्रू सोलर पावर और एनी ग्रीन एनर्जी और विंड पावर, इट विल बिकम ग्रीन। तो आज अगर हाइड्रोजन, ठीक है, हम क्यों हो रहा है ये सब एक्सपेरिमेंट क्यों हो रहे हैं, सब कर रहे हैं कि at least we should start with, we should be ready to use hydrogen. So hydrogen injection, etc., all those activities are taking. Not only you are talking about injecting hydrogen in gas pipeline or something. In fact, just to update you, only recently hydrogen outlet has come up in Jamnagar, where vehicles will be fueled by hydrogen. But hydrogen will be grey or blue or whatever, because it is being produced through whatever energy is there currently. So that has to be also green if we have to really be green. So that is why I always say कि it will take little time. All जो आज जो हमें दिख रहा है वो उसकी तरफ transition है. The right word is transition.
Correct.
So to reach the destination is not transition. Transition is only way. We have to reach somewhere. Na? That destination will take little time, which will not be 5 years or 10 years. It will take little time.
Nice, sir, definitely. और सर लाइक मतलब थैंक यू, आपने ये सारी इतनी मतलब इनसाइट्स शेयर करी. एंड आई रियली होप कि मतलब ये जो हमारे एफर्ट्स हैं इसको हम मास स्केल पे इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएँ. एंड आई हैव लाइक फुल फेथ इन आवर साइंटिस्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम हाइड्रोजन की बात कर रहे थे, द साइंटिस्ट हु इज वर्किंग ऑन सस्टेनेबल एविएशन फ्यूल, ही ओनली टोल्ड मी कि जो एविएशन फ्यूल में वो हाइड्रोजन कर रहे हैं दैट इज ऑल्सो ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन. So, मतलब what amazes me is that people are putting such deeper insights. वो पूरी लाइफ साइकिल एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आपने बोला कि फर्नेस में कर रहे हैं, आपने उसका बताया, जामनगर में एक प्लांट बताया. सो मतलब दिस इज अमेजिंग, दिस इज इनक्रेडिबल एंड वी आर सिटिंग ऑन द एरा ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज राइट नाउ. ग्रीन जॉब्स की बात करी, मतलब आई कांट इवन इमेजिन कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ब्यूटिफुल जॉब्स वुड इमर्ज इन द एंटायर कंट्री फॉर पीपल. And as we mentioned कि इंडिया में 140 करोड़ लोग हैं.
We have become most populous country.
Most populous country, but sir, most populous country के साथ हमारे पास वो ताकत है कि 140 करोड़ लोग क्या कर सकते हैं. इंडिया में मानती हूँ हर कोई, मतलब हम जुगाड़ बहुत फेमस वर्ड है, और जिस तरीके से लोग दिमाग चला रहे हैं ना इस स्पेस में, सर इनक्रेडिबल. Since
you said ना क्या कर सकते हैं, उसमें एक एडवांटेज जो अभी हमारी पॉपुलेशन का, हालांकि नंबर तो अच्छा नहीं है, प्लस ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन तो अच्छी चीज नहीं होती है. करंटली advantage is that one term is their demographic dividend.
Demographic dividend, yes.
तो वो हमारा सबसे अच्छा है.
Correct.
China is aging country, and other countries do not have that kind of population. So our population is in that bracket which can give so good results for country कि हम prosper करेंगे.
And so जैसे अभी हम देखते हैं हमारे जो schools और universities वगैरह हैं, even like मेरे टाइम में भी schools में ऐसे programs उस टाइम पे नहीं थे, but अब स्कूल्स में जैसे अटल है और मतलब इतना कुछ इन्वायरमेंट, क्लाइमेट, इंजीनियरिंग पे मतलब इस पे बच्चे काम कर रहे हैं. सो लाइक जो निकलेंगे वहाँ से दे वुड डेफिनेटली बी ट्रेन्ड एंड बी स्किल्ड विद द इंडस्ट्री रेलेवेंट एक्सपीरियंस. सो आई थिंक व्हाट यू सेड इज आल्सो करेक्ट, बिकॉज हम डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड पे काम कर रहे हैं. वी आर आल्सो ट्रेनिंग आवर यंगस्टर्स.
बिल्कुल, गवर्नमेंट का स्किल जैसे
स्किल एनहांसमेंट एंड स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स, राइट? या
वो भी एक मिशन मोड में.
करेक्ट.
वो भी
अभी जैसे पीछे हुआ था ना सर, चेतन सरांकी सर ने ऑर्गेनाइज किया था वो क्लाइमेट क्लॉक वाला, उसमें कितने सारे बच्चों ने पार्टिसिपेट करा. यू राइट, 100%.
He was in our office during that time.
During that time, climate. Achho, okay. We had him on the podcast as well, so he was telling. But great initiative. But sir, thank you. आपने मतलब इतना insights share करा. And as we end this, I would like to say कि I always believe जैसे हमने demographic dividend की बात करी ना, अगर हमें इन solutions को scale करना है, implement करना है, it is all the age groups that have to come together and work towards it. For example, we need experience of people like you, youngsters, and many other people who come together with their own skill sets. So please keep supporting us the way you do and with the insights that you have. And thank you for being on the show today, sir. Thank you so much.